Welcome to the Inglorious Blasters podcast, a Star Wars Legion podcast talking anything and everything glorious or inglorious about the game. My name is Koray, and with me today are my two friends that I don't give two bantha ticks about, John and Brendan. How's it going, my dudes?
It's going good. Happy to be talking to you fellas.
I guess a bantha tick is a tick on a bantha?
Yep, sure is, I guess.
Man, like, how big is a tick on a bantha that you notice it? Because that's a lot of fur.
It's a lot of fur.
Softball size. Are you implying we suck the life out of you?
I think I'm implying that I don't care in the slightest about you.
Banthas do seem rather unbothered about everything. Except for crate dragons.
I'm just joking. I love you guys. You guys are great. So happy Din and IG release day, everyone. Hopefully everyone's painting theirs and getting theirs ready to go.
Work in progress.
Nice. Same. John wouldn't know anything about that because he only plays Republic.
I'm still getting them. I collect all 4 factions.
You gotta catch them all. I get it.
Yep.
Alrighty, so today on the podcast, we had a tournament that we all went to recently. So John and I played in the Gamers Core tournament down in Ellicott City. Brendan was lovely being the TO. And then later on in the podcast, we got some fan mail. Wow, holy cow, did we get fan mail. We very much appreciate it. And yeah, let's just get to it.
Yeah, so starting, as Koray said, had a tournament at Gamers Core in Ellicott City, Maryland. It's my local store. Try to get games in there when I can. And I tried my hand at TOing for the first time. So that was a lot of fun. Got to bring a bunch of tables out that I still have yet to really play on, despite the fact I have either paid money for them or made them myself. So maybe someday I'll get to play on my own tables. Who knows? We had 14 people turn out, so I did not play, as I didn't want there to be an uneven number of people, which was a great turnout. Very happy with that. Hopefully we can get more next time. Judge calls were very simple. I didn't have to do anything crazy, just have to look up some rules. I think I had 1 line of sight call throughout the day, so pretty laid back day for me.
I think you did a line of sight call for me.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And I've already posted pictures up on Facebook and Instagram of some of the pictures I took throughout the day. So if you'd like to see what some of the tables looked like or some of the cool moments I captured, go ahead and take a look on our social media posts. But, you know, I got to say we had a fun time. It seemed like everybody had a good time. But Koray and John might say otherwise because they actually played. I mean, I know how well they did. It seemed like they had a good time, but there was some funny things that happened just with the randomness of the schedule, which we'll get into because I think it's hilarious.
That's right, absolutely. John, do you want to talk about your games first or me?
It's up to you.
Why don't you go for it, sir?
All right. So I'll start with the list that I was playing. I was doing a 10-act Yoda triple bark list with 2 pikes with the range 4 gun, 3 phase 1s, 1 with Z6, 1 with RPS, and I threw a shotgun in there just to give that a try. The DP-23, 2 black, 1 white Pierce gun that you rarely see. And then, what else did I have in there? Pike Capo. That rounded out the 10 acts with a 12-point bid. Yoda was fully loaded with push, barrier, vigilance, and burst of speed. So it pretty much was good at just about everything. I was blue all 3 games with the 12-point bid, as you could imagine. So I was obviously looking to play bombing run, breakthrough, but payload and hostage exchange are both in there, which are fine for that list as well. So first game was against Sam McHenry. He was playing an 11-act Rex list with triple barks. We ended up on advanced positions, hostage exchange, and minefield. I let him keep hostage exchange thinking I was going to do some Yoda guidance shenanigans and just run my hostage out of there and pretty much ride off into the sunset into victory. And since you don't see a lot of wrecks, I forgot all about scouting party on advanced positions with that Scout 3 move.
Come on, John.
John,
We
we
just had a
just
whole
talked about
episode.
this. We just talked about it.
It's funny because as soon as we set up, I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna be out of here. I'm gonna be gone. His hostage is gonna be stuck there. There's a lot of juicy options for me here." And as soon as he did the scouting party with Rex and did the Scout 3 and was basically back at his deployment, I was like, "We literally just talked about this. I cannot believe I let this happen." So usually you like your round one game to not require 100% or 110% of your mental capabilities for the first game of the day, but it was probably, I don't want to say my hardest game, but I feel like I really had to work for it and had a little bit of luck in my favor. I was pretty much, in a nutshell, I got my hostage back, obviously. Sam was able to get his hostage right to his deployment zone, and he had taken down one or two of my acts, and I was like, this game's pretty much over. I just dropped round one. And I was like, you know what, YOLO. I sent Yoda out there, and what I was basically able to do was tie up his hostage unit right outside its deployment zone and just pin them there for the entire game. So when the game was over, it was 2-0 in favor of me because his hostage was basically outside of the deployment zone. Or if he has the hostage, does that still give him a point?
Still gives him a point.
Should give him a point.
Okay, so it was 2-1. So basically, he was not able to bring his hostage into his end zone, making it a 2-2 and him winning on victory points because I was down by the end of everything, maybe 3 or 4 acts with my only Hail Mary attempt of basically just pinning his hostage carrier outside the deployment zone. So that was kind of a sneaky, sort of lucky win for a round one game. But Sam is a phenomenal player. Koray will talk about it as well. We played at ACO game one back in June, and that was another round one game where I almost lost on a game of Breakthrough in kind of a similar tricky situation. But it's neither here nor there. It was a rough go for a round one game, but I pulled out the W. Sam is a phenomenal opponent. Round two was against Manny Katz. Great guy. He was playing a 10-act Iden Boba list. We were on advanced positions, breakthrough, limited viz. This one was actually one where I could utilize the shotgun, the DP-23, to get a early lead. Since it was advanced positions, I scouted up the shotgun squad, and with limited viz, you couldn't basically get a shot on them that first round because range 2. So I played Yoda's 2-pip, so it relentlessed up and got an open shot on one of his snipers, his scout snipers. So it one shot at a scout sniper, and then my second move was to guidance that same unit to move it over 1, or speed 2, and then sniper off the other scout squad. So basically it was first move, sniper squad down. Second move, other sniper squad down. So then it was 10 to 8 acts, and we were playing breakthrough. So from that point on, I just basically shifted everything to the left and was like, okay, if you want to stop this 10-8 situation, you're going to have to come at me. And then he started funneling units over, and then I was setting up Yoda's 3-pip with the Luminous Beings to set up all kinds of crazy fire supports. So by the end of round 2, I think he had lost 5 acts, and I was still at 10, and we decided not to play it out. But he was a great guy, good opponent. So that was another win, and then final game was against Mike Dashes, previously from the 5th Trooper, and now with, I guess, Dashes TV is one of the things that he's still doing. So that was the round 3 game. He was doing a 9-act Anakin Padme list. He sacrificed a 10th act to kind of juice up all of his phase 1s. They all had the captain with the extra, so they had the 6-man squads, and I think that's the one where you can tap it and then they can ignore suppression for a turn. I think he was primarily utilizing it for the 6-man benefit, because they were throwing crazy dice pools when you factored in all the aims that they were sharing from Anakin and Padme. But we were on advanced positions, payload, minefield. Kind of my plan there was, because I have 10 acts, I was thinking, okay, if I can eliminate one of his acts early, it would take him down to 8 and further my act lead, forcing him at some point to either split off his guys to come at me and affect my payload while leaving his payload a little bit unguarded, at which point I was just going to send the 3 barks over, stall his cart, and oftentimes if you can stall your opponent's payload once, definitely if it's twice, but oftentimes once is enough to get you the win. So I recon intel'd up, he recon intel'd up, and then I played Yoda's 3-pip turn 1, set up a fire support to eliminate one of his phase 1 squads, and I killed 5 of the 6 guys. Between like the Z6 fire supported with the RPS, so 17 dice. They took an aim, 2 aims from Yoda, 2 surges. I think it came out to like 13 hits.
That's too many hits.
My.
Yeah, and he blocked 8 of the 13, so he lost 5 guys, and then that single man just double moved back right after. And then his next shot was a fire support where he pretty much took one of my phase 1s down to 1 man. And then I was like, all right, my plan of eliminating his axe and going up, 10 to 8, and then having this whole split situation where the barks could just overwhelm the payload was probably not going to happen at that point. So we ended up just kind of trading shots, and then eventually our payloads ended up on opposite ends of the board. And then when I started to send my barks over, Anakin kind of peeled off, fire supported one, it was gone. One of the other ones was taken out by pikes. And then we each ended up towards the end of the game having all these squads with like 1 or 2 guys. Because it was kind of like, all right, I kill 4 or 5 of yours, and then the one guy runs away. All right, now I kill 4 or 5 of yours, and then your one guy runs away. So what ended up happening was he pretty much ran over to my payload with Anakin, and I don't know at what point he went up 1 act on me, but Anakin essentially went last, and he pushed one of my guys off, saber throwed my one guy, killing him, and then might have relentless charged the other single man. No. Either way, it basically ended up in a situation where he stalled my payload, his move forward, and then that gave him the W. So it was, I don't know, I would like to think it was a close game. It never felt like I was in that that much control of of my destiny. On paper, it was a close game, but if you were watching it happen from my perspective, I kind of felt like I was fighting a uphill battle. When you have Anakin and Padme either sharing 4 aims or 4 dodges, combinations of both, it just kind of felt like every shot I took. Yeah. The Luminous being shot round 1 as my first play to kind of eliminate something before all those dodges and surges and everything was just stacking from vigilance and all the chaos going on didn't really happen. And then it gave him the opportunity to have Anakin had offense and defensive stance. So he was either dodging and getting 2, and then getting an aim, and then Padme would either aim quick think or dodge quick think. So there was always 4 of whatever token. In addition to when Anakin has his 2-pip up, then there's another dodge, and then Padme would play aggressive negotiations and then hand out 2 more dodges from that. So at one point, all of the pikes had 2 dodges, and then there was like 9 shareable. It was like a wall of dodges that every shot it was almost like
to chunk through.
Shit, yeah, it was almost like, do I even take this shot? I don't even know if this is gonna do anything. So yeah, it was actually interesting because I've been doing a lot of playtesting with Anakin, and I've settled on Yoda. But then after playing against Anakin Padme, played correctly, I should say, because I have played it, but probably not played it correctly. I was like, man, I need to copy that list or some variants of that list and play out that strategy a couple times, because it was very not only oppressive on the return fire from all the aims, but also you never really felt like you were making any ground because everything was so dodged up. So it was a lot of fun. So I finished 2-1. It was a great day overall. Brendan did a phenomenal job as TO, and I think everyone had a lot of fun.
Oh, shucks.
Well, it's funny that you fought Mike Barry Dashes, right? So I also got to fight him round 1. We also played payload. John, remind me, did your payloads go opposite directions, or were you guys making a cross?
So they went opposite directions.
Okay. Our payload. So we landed on payload, danger close, and then I forget the last one. I think it was Limviz. Doesn't matter. So our payloads also went opposite directions, and
Well, Koray, what list were you playing?
you know what? I should probably describe that.
Probably.
So I was running Blizzard Force. This time I had Operative Vader instead of Commander Vader. So it was the officer with improvised and electric binoculars, then Vader with push, choke, tenacity, into the fray. Truly a nasty setup. And then I had the Super Stormtroopers with the range 4 guns, 2 naked snows, and then 4 speeder bikes with 3 of them had emergency transponders. I took one of them off for a bid, so I think total bid was 14 or 16, something dumb. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be blue. I need to be blue here. The Blizzard Force is definitely a list that could bid really hard. So that's what I landed on. And yeah, like I said, I fought Mike Dashesberry. And so it's a game of payload, and I have 10 acts versus his 9. And I've always played payload where, like, I'm going at the opponent, but, like, I'm wondering, should I have even bothered going after him, if that makes sense? Because the way it was set up with Danger Close, he was on his side in the middle, and so was I. And I set up my bikes to, like, be able to attack on turn 2 if I wanted it, while trying to not take shots, at the bikes. But, like, after, like, replaying it in my head, I'm like, why didn't I just run away and just play, like, the lamest game possible? Because our carts were going the opposite directions, and I could have had him come to me and him make some mistakes, but it's like John was saying, it's kind of depressing to shoot into that, all those dodges, all those surges. And then, at some points he had standbys up, so then when my bikes would move up, they would get obliterated by, like, a standby. I only had that happen once, luckily. So, yeah, I mean, like, Vader got in at a good time, and he was behind. So Vader was behind a line of sight blocker until, like, the end of round 2, and I moved up. And then by 3, Vader was in his entire line. And I thought about it pretty hard, because at that point, Anakin had, like, a bunch of suppression on him from the round before. I think he had 4, maybe even 5. So then I was trying to think, like, do I Master of Evil here and just hit the entire army, because if Anakin gets those suppressions off, then, like, I can't do my usual shenanigans, which is, like, get in and then pull, like, a unit in and take a standby. Because if I do that first with Master of Evil, then Anakin can push that off of me, that standby. It's not really a fun time. So those are the thoughts that were going on in my head at the time. So I opted for Fear and Dead Men. I opted for that one for a bunch of dodges, because I knew Vader would be out in the open, even though I was tied up with 2 people in melee at the end of, like, turn 3 or something like that, near his payload. So I was like, okay, Vader just needs to survive, and then I'll play the other one, Master of Evil. I think I still should have done Master of Evil, because it was right on that board edge. I probably could have panicked a bunch of stuff. We were getting a little late on time, so I just kind of panicked and picked Master of Evil, or Fear and Dead Men rather. So, but it was it was a pretty close game. Again, I still don't know what the proper thing I should have done is, like, even interact with his payload at all. Especially since I'm up on X, like 10-9. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? I just need more practice with it. So that was my game one. It was I'm glad I got to fight him round one because that was a pretty like high level game, and I'm glad to get that in round one rather than like round three when I'm like already tired and exhausted. So then I'll skip on ahead to my last opponent, none other than Sam, the same Sam that John was talking about. So John and I played a bunch of the same opponents this tournament. I previously fought Sam as well at not ACO, but it was at Nova Open, and he's what do you call it? So he had the 11 act list against my 10 act list, and we landed on breakthrough. So I was like, okay, this is a little interesting. And then Disarray made it even like crazier. So I'm like, okay, so one of us is going to murder a bike and then run away. And we both kind of knew it. So then in my corner, I had this awesome like line of sight blocker to hide Vader into his scoring zone that he's trying to get to. So I could like harass the clones when he gets close. And then he put one bark in the other disarray corner, right? Because you have to, it's mandated. So I was like, okay, I have to just draw this speeder bike, because my initial plan when deploying was like, okay, I'll put one speeder bike over there as a sacrifice. But then he literally kept stacking his entire force, other than one bark in the one zone of disarray. So I was like, okay, I definitely need Vader here to like stop something. If he can kill two, like, I'm winning. This is great. So that's why I had like this weird timing issue. Like I needed to play Vader's 3-pip because like Reliable 2 is like really good. And I couldn't issue an order to the bike. Maybe I could have with Master of Evil, but like that's such a waste of that card. So I was like, I have improvised orders. I'll fish it out. It's fine. What could go wrong? Surely nothing will go wrong. I didn't pull that speeder bike, I think, for like 4 turns in a row. It's just like core, like commander, core. I was like, what is going on? I'm like, I know it's hiding in there. I eventually get it, but by that time, I had been reduced to 1 model, and I believe it was 1 wound. Yeah, 1 model, 1 wound remaining, one wound remaining on the bike. So I was like, okay, sweet, I pulled it. And then I try and triple move out of the way of his bark, the single lone bark. And I almost get out of his like shoot range, but like I was just in that firing arc, just barely. So instead I just took a shot at his bark and was like, okay, hopefully we can trade here, right? He'll kill my speeder bike and then I'll kill his bark. It's not a great trade for me though, because barks cost less than my bikes. So then something glorious happened. He pulled that bark and he took it, I believe it was an aim shot, and only got 1 after cover. And I was like, sweet, I just need this 1. I nailed the defense roll. I'm like, this is my game now. I'm like, all right, here we go. So then the rest of my speeders go in and annihilate that lone bark. So I'm like, already in a great spot. Turn 2, I mess up. Grats to me. So he and I played our 2 pips, which is the air supports, those long range shots. And I moved my bark. I think I moved my bark into safety, but actually I didn't. I should have just moved it behind a line of sight blocker. What did I say? Oh yeah,
you said
speeder.
bark. You don't have
barks.
Silly Koray.
Yeah, I do. I don't have those. You're right. I tried to move that 1 wound speeder bike model. Like I just triple moved it. I'm like, oh, I'm safe. This is fine. That was incorrect. I didn't really think about it too hard, which was my mistake. I should have like just hit it behind a line of sight blocker, which I had, easily available to me. So, oh well. So then he kills that speeder bike. So then at that point in the game, like we're just trading shots, just killing stuff. I kill his second bark, and then Vader at the end of turn 2, he gets, I believe it's either at the end of 2 or the end of 3. He gets in towards his lines. He does a last first to double move, and then, he plays Master of Evil, all that fun stuff. Or I played Implacable, all that fun stuff. And then eventually Vader goes down because on his Implacable turn, I could not again pull out his token. His token was last in the bag, even after improvised orders, even after recovering the officer's improvised orders. I was like, I counted, I think I had 9 surges from Into the Fray. That was kind of gross. So Vader goes down, and I'm like, well, that's not great. So then it becomes, just like a point. I think we were tied on Axe that could score, if I remember correctly. So it was 7-7, and near the end of the game, I'm like down on points, and I could tell just because he killed Vader, right? It's a lot of my points right there, and then he killed, I think, 2 speeder bikes. I think it was 2. So I almost gave up to the point where I was like, is this even, I said out loud, I'm like, is this even worth playing for me anymore? And then Sam was the one to say, just play it out. Just see what happens. I'm like, okay. So I moved my super stormtroopers, right, the range 4 guys, into the scoring zone. And I'm just within the scoring zone. I swing the heavies around so they can actually see a bark at range 4. And I'm like, okay, this is an unaimed shot. And that his bark is already wounded from previous rounds. It was like, I think he had 2 wounds on him. Pretty sure it was 2. And I just take a shot. I swing the shot. I get 6 hits into heavy cover. And I'm like, this is great. 4 wounds coming at him. He's got to make these saves. I'm like, let's see what happens. He misses all of them.
Oh.
I was like, are you kidding? I literally put my head into the table. I'm like, Sam, I have no idea what happened. What is this game? I feel like I got lucky. Let me put it that way. I feel like that was... I just don't know what to say. It was just like, I had the game at the top of turn 2, and I messed it up. And then I came back and then Vader tried to swing in and, make it a game again, and he died. And then all of a sudden I got this lucky stormtrooper shot. So best unit of the game is not Vader. It's those heavy response unit stormtroopers. They're getting a gold medal. I'm painting that squad a little bit special. Oh man. So that was my experience. So I went 2-1 at the tournament. Pretty happy with it. And thanks for TOing, Brendan, and hosting a great event. I think everyone had a lot of fun. The terrain looked awesome. It was a collection of all of our stuff. It was Inglorious Blasters tournament, I guess.
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I have to say, moral of the story is apparently randomizing the schedule doesn't do too much to randomize, because you guys both played 2 people of the same people. Also, I want to be very thankful for the fact that we had 14 players show up, so I didn't play, and Dashes couldn't wipe the entire podcast in one tournament.
Yeah, little sad about the team kill on the Blasters from a single man. So right here, right now, Mike, if you're listening, I'm going to steal this from Stabcast, and I don't care. You are now an enemy of the podcast.
And
congrats, you're the first.
And to Sam, I'm sorry you keep having to play these guys and losing to them.
Yeah, I feel really bad. It was definitely Sam's game.
We were literally walking back to the car, and I was like, Koray was giving me the recap of his game, and I was kind of talking about my game against Sam. And I was like, Sam has got to be like one of the best players that kind of gets screwed on some weird game shenanigans or rolls or because a similar thing happened at ACO, and just even my game, I was just like, well, I lost. I might as well just burst to speed Yoda into his army. And then it's like, Yoda's one of those pieces where it's like, I'm losing. Well, I win. Good game. Because there's just so many weird tricks that he can pull out last minute and get you the W. But but Sam is a phenomenal player, so it's kind of funny. And Mike, shout out to Mike for being an enemy of the podcast. Now he is definitely one of the most chill, calm people that I feel like I've played. So it's a very competitive game, but it didn't have like any like bad vibes. It was just very relaxed, very fun. He's a really cool guy. So he doesn't feel like an enemy to me. But he is. So
No, he's an enemy.
we'll see you at the next one, man.
Mike beat me twice, so definitely enemy for me. Once at Nova and once here, so I'm I couldn't get my revenge, so oh well.
I haven't played him yet, so there's still a chance for me to be the only one to win against him.
I hope you do. I would be rooting for you real hard. I would stop what I'm doing, even in the middle of a turn, and be like, all right, Brendan, you got this. Do you need water? Do you need snacks? What do you need?
Maybe that'll happen in the future.
Alrighty, guys. What do you guys say we head on over to some fan mail?
Fan mail. We have 3 different emails to go over today. The first one we've got is from Tristan. He had a follow-up to our last episode where we talked about Pathfinders. He said, hey guys, just finished up with the Pathfinder's verdict, and I'd say I agree with a lot of what you said about them. They are an expensive unit to bring to the table compared to other options. I will say, I think that the last point about Paths versus Commandos is a tricky one. Pathfinders are an objective-focused unit. The infiltrate, while oftentimes a trap, can be very helpful with the right situations. I like finding a spot for them to flank entrenched units, generally getting around cover. Ion and Impact is more designed for droids and vehicles, and droids are especially tricky against rebels, with their low defense and high body counts compared to the rebel ability to bring back a lot of Pierce. Also, the objective play, it isn't terribly smart to drop them on the center box and recover the supplies, but I've won games doing it, sure. They just die, but the 5th box is important. As mentioned, Breakthrough, it can be great, but even Intercept and Sabotage, a unit that pops up either or near the objective on deployment, is very helpful. I agree they're delicate and they have to be used carefully, but I've seen these guys put in work, and while I respect the verdict, I wish I had a chance to argue. Haha. Thanks for the free analysis, guys. I look forward to the next episode. Thanks so much, Tristan. Those are great points. Again, we didn't prep at all for that argument, so we definitely missed things.
Hey, don't give away our secrets.
We gave it away on the episode. I do also have to say, right after we recorded that episode, we had the tournament, and I have to give a shout out. I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but somebody did bring a Rebel Scarif themed list with Cassian, K2 Jin, and both Pathfinders, with one with Bistan and one with Pow. So kudos to that guy for bringing the double Pathfinders.
Nice.
But yeah, thank you, Tristan. You made great points. It's not a unit.
Thanks, Tristan. Yeah, I agree.
All right, our next email.
Oh, let me add one thing to that, Brendan.
No.
I think we were talking about this, and did you say no?
Yep.
All right, never mind. Moving along. No, I just wanted to point out, I agree. So I was reading through the email. We all take a look at these emails, and thank you again for everybody that submits an email. We really appreciate it. And I think a lot of our judgments when doing the Inglorious versus Glorious segment is looking at a macro level of, if you play a bunch of games with this specific unit, this is the outcome you can expect. So with Pathfinders, for example, our experience is, sure, there's games that you can win, and sure, they can be, the end-all be-all in certain situations, but looking at them over like a 10-game stint, this is like what we've experienced and where the verdict is kind of coming from. So even like the in the tournament recap, I was thinking about me using the phase 1 with the DP23. Definitely won me the game against my second opponent with the Yoda shenanigans with the Relentless followed by the Guidance. But the other 2 games, completely useless. So I would say it's Inglorious, even though it won me game 2. So I think anytime we're doing those Inglorious versus Glorious segments, that's kind of the lens we're looking at them through of, can they be really good in certain situations? Absolutely. But over the course of a multi-game tournament, how are they going to do? You might have one game where they carry the game, but if they predominantly don't, then they're going to end up with the Inglorious
Agreed.
stamp.
Every unit has the potential to be glorious. It's the consistency and reliability that helps to sway our decisions.
Yes, exactly. Those are the words I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. I can say it shorter. So,
I can sum up that rant in 2 words.
Sometimes Pathfinders are heroes. Sometimes they're zeros. Done. Judgment
they're
over.
always dead. All right. So
They're always dead.
our next email here is from Tyler, appropriately labeled "Hello there," because he's got an Obi-Wan list for us to take a look at. Specifically, Obi-Wan and Rex. So definitely an interesting list, not one we probably would build on our own, but I kind of like it. So it's 800 points, 8 activations. Obi-Wan with Force Push, Force Reflexes, Vigilance, and Tenacity. Captain Rex with Improvised Orders, Up Close and Personal, Recon, Intel, and Smoke Grenades. 3 Naked Phase 1 Clone Troopers. Wookiee Warriors with Bowcaster, Offensive Push, Tenacity, Recon, Intel, and Smoke Grenades. And 2 more Wookiees with Bowcaster, Offensive Push, Tenacity, and Smoke Grenades. The command cards are all of Obi-Wan's cards, Call Me Captain, Air Support, and Assault. It looks like a just rush at you list, and I love those kinds of lists. I mean, the whole idea is you've got Rex to, do the scouting party, presumably on the other 2 Wookiees, maybe Obi-Wan, because the other one Wookiee does have recon intel already, and just charge and murder.
Can you use scouting party with Wookiees? I forget.
Yeah.
Okay, sick. Yeah, I dig this. The only thing that I might change is force reflexes, if you can fit it. I know it's 5 extra points, but like force barrier on Obi-Wan to protect the Wookiees, like on the incoming shots. Like, I don't know where you would like fit it. Maybe get rid of some smoke grenades.
Yeah.
How much do smoke grenades cost?
Smoke grenades, I think, are 3 points.
Yeah, I agree. Because
smoke grenades are 3. Yep. But other than that, it looks fun. Like I would try it. Right. Like I don't think Obi-Wan is bad, and I think if you just have like Obi-Wan, like in a good spot to deflect and force barrier some Wookiees, like what are they gonna do? They're eventually gonna get in.
Yeah, I like the idea of the smoke grenades just for the extra cover moving up the table.
I think you need 1, maybe not 3.
4. There's 4
Actually,
instances
it's
of
4.
smoke grenades.
I don't think you need all 4.
Table dependent, maybe. But yeah, I think it's a little heavy on the smoke grenades. But overall, again, I love the idea of this list.
Oh, same.
Yeah, same. I think barrier is a must because you're gonna potentially save 12 wounds worth of Wookiee. I mean, each one that you are shaving off, the Wookiees pretty much always fail their save. So I think barrier's huge. And if you can sub out some of the smoke grenades, because Wookiees are pretty much, in my experience, always in heavy cover, because they're either on top of a building, thereby granting them heavy cover because of all the shenanigans with scale, or they're back behind like a barrier or something. Like if you could, the smoke grenades are situational, whereas barrier you're gonna get dividends from every turn.
Alternatively, you could just delete the 4 smoke grenades and have that bid.
Yeah.
That's 12. That's 12 points. That's pretty good. Like, your deck is pretty good as well. I would not want to fight against that. Like, you got Danger Close and Hemmed In. Like, the Wookiees are definitely going to get in, right? So that's another way to go about this list, because you only have 8 acts and you want those Wookiees and Obi to crash in. So that's something else to think about, like, if you just really, really want to push that.
Yeah, I think that potentially going for the bid, because with only 8 activations, you probably want to play your deck, because you don't want to necessarily run into something that, like a Blizzard Force really likes, necessarily. I mean,
Yeah.
You're fine with payload if somebody's doing payload, but if you unfortunately somehow get forced into bombing run, I'm sorry. Against a bike list. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome list.
Yeah, great list. All right, and then lastly, we also got an email from Hawkrin. In short, Hawkrin's playing in some kind of tournament where it's 650 points. Okay.
Okay.
Not really something any of us have thought about, is 650 points, but is what it is. And he gave us a few lists because he's been playing one list and hasn't been doing very well with it. The 650 point list he hasn't been doing well with is Shadow Collective, made up of a Capo, 3 Pike Syndicate Foot Soldiers, Mandalorian Commandos, 2 Swoops, and an A5, various upgrades on them. Some of the things he said he's been running into that have been giving him trouble are Armor and Jedi. He gave us a couple lists for things that he'd be willing to try in this format, and he gave us 5 lists. There's 2 in particular I really like, so those will be the ones that I'll read first. The first one is a Empire list that's 9 activations at 650 points, which is pretty ridiculous. Imperial Officer with Lead by Example and Electrobinox, 2 Stormtroopers with T-21s and targeting scopes, 2 Stormtroopers with an extra Stormtrooper and targeting scopes, 2 Scout Strike Teams with snipers and ascension cables, an E-Web with overcharged generator, and an ATST with the armor pilot and twin light blaster cannon.
That's kind of insane you could fit all that with
Yeah.
9 acts.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And it's, yeah.
Like a 500 point game, you're usually averaging 5 to 6 acts. So just adding that extra 150 points, the fact that you're getting 3 to 4 extra more acts is kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I like is because it's got a lightsaber in it. And it's a CIS list with Count Dooku at 7 activations, so a little bit less activations, but it's got some very powerful pieces in here. Dooku with Burst Speed, Force Push, and Fear. 2 Super Battle Droids with the ACM Trooper and Viper Recon Droids. B1s with an E5C, a Battle Droid, and Electrobinoculars. Another B1 with E5C and Electrobinox, an IG with Tenacity and Protector, and a Droidica. This one, I like the core the core idea of it. I'm not sold on some of the upgrades, like the Viper Droid and the Electrobinox on the B1s.
The Viper droids are on the B2s, which are questionable, because I don't think you want to take the action on a B2 to do that. What is that even called? I don't even use it. What's that action called?
Observe.
Recover?
Yeah, observe.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. There it is. I don't think you're going to be taking that action to observe.
No. So if you took away the Vipers and the Electrobinox, you could instead get a rocket on the Magna Guard.
That's what I was thinking. Yep.
So
because the extra body on the Magna Guard is super important. The RPS is a really good gun at range 4, and it's got like critical and impact. Like those are good things against armor.
Yeah. And then also, what might not be a bad idea, because this list is only at 649, you could get rid of Fear, or maybe just get rid of Tenacity on the Magna Guard, and put Vigilance on Dooku. Doesn't hurt if he's got a spare dodge hanging around, or you get rid of the OOM battle droid. Get some Vigilance on Dooku. Maybe also get rid of, as much as I like Fear, I mean, I guess it depends on what you think you're going to be up against. But
I just noticed Count Dooku does not have a command upgrade. I think you want to give him one for sure.
Yeah,
whether it be
else,
Vigilance probably is the one.
I like Vigilance on him, and maybe getting rid of Fear. It gives you a bunch of points to work with. Throw Force Reflexes on him. He's got Master of the Force 2. That way you'll always have the dodge on him for a free action, and keeping it with the Vigilance.
Okay, so let's see. So he's saying that the first list that he showed us, the Shadow Collective one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he was having issues and trouble with that, right? Because he said he
said it's gone 0-3 with it.
Right. So to actually answer some questions, I guess we should go in order. So I think this list is not bad. The only thing is, like, what are you doing with the truck, the speeder truck? Are you trying to put in Mandalorians in there? Are you just doing it for, like, the quad laser and that's it? And just, like, maybe run people over? I think if you had a Black Sun enforcer in the truck, like, that's going to be, like, a good use of your time. I think if you get rid of a Pike Syndicate and then, like, add in a Black Sun enforcer, it might deliver, like, that extra impact that you're, like, looking for. Maybe even get rid of the Mandalorian super commandos for the Black Sun enforcers.
Yeah,
I
think so. Also, I think if you could find a way to get the points, and instead of having a frenzied gunner on the AA5, put the raiding party leader, because you have those swoops, so then you'd be handing out all the extra suppression from all the demoralize.
Oh, yeah. That's not a bad tactic. I like that.
It almost looks like...
But other than that, I think it looks fine. Sorry, I interrupted, John.
No, it looks like... Is the 650, are you playing with the normal 800-point, like, objective deployment and condition cards?
I think you are.
I'd assume, but I don't know.
I would assume so. Yeah, I would assume so also. And I guess the idea here is you want to play breakthrough or bombing run, but in that situation you'd want a deeper bid than 2 points. So you could kind of clean it up just to make sure that you're a blue player and just drop, like, the environmental gear and some of the other kind of, like, nice to have upgrades.
Yeah.
Oh, I see the environmental gear. Yeah.
But if you're playing on the skirmish objectives, there's no point for a bid. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I just don't know which things you're doing.
Yep.
Right, exactly. Our thoughts are going to change on whether or not this is like a skirmish style tournament or not.
650's weird.
650's weird. Why do you do it? You know what? Like, I don't want to super dog that, but I think 650 is cool if you're doing, like, a slow grow league. So, for example, like 40K and, like, those other miniature games do it, where, like, you buy in at a certain, like, point value, and then you go up, and then, like, every other week or something like that, you go up in points. So if you start at 500, then you land on 650, and then you finally make your way to 800, like, that's cool. But if you're strictly doing 650, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't think it saves you that much time, especially if you're using the standard 800-point rules. Like 150 points is an activation and a half type thing.
Right.
It's an interesting format.
On a side note, I was just curious from a 650. I've never built a 650-point list, so I just threw something together real quick that I thought was interesting. You could do Maul with Force Push, Choke, Vigilance, Tenacity, and the Darksaber. 2 Pike Capos with Vigilance, and then 6 Pikes, 4 with the gun for 640, 10-point bid. 9 activation.
That's ridiculous.
Not bad.
Yeah. So
I mean, I'm always going to +1 Maul in Shadow Collective. He's really good.
Yeah. Well, then you got the impact for vehicles, and you got the force push, and all the force user shenanigans with a 10-point bid.
I mean, I just like lightsabers, so, you know.
Lightsabers are just good.
Yeah. And they become exponentially better if you're playing the skirmish table size compared to the standard table size. So that would really weigh heavily on what's going on for this format.
So, reading a little further, he did reply back to you, I think, at one point. So he did. Yeah, so he's asking, like, should he bring some more named characters, or should he, like, keep activations up, like, you know, have more acts? Should he sacrifice a Jedi, like, some acts for a Jedi or a bounty hunter? Like, I would first say, play what you think is cool. So, for example, if you really like Maul, like, Maul's, like, awesome. Like, not even game terms. Like, just Maul's really, really cool. So then from there, like, I would try and build a list from there. Now, if you're trying to, like, we'll take Shadow Collective, for example. I would start with Maul. Like, that's the first thing I would do, like, list build with. I would be like, okay, here's Maul. Now what do I want to support Maul? And then that's how I would try and go about this.
The other thing, alternative, is if you're playing to win at this point, because you've gone 0-3, play what you know rather than things you don't. If you're not used to playing with a Force user, I don't recommend it. They have a big learning curve. They are great if you play them well. Otherwise, it feels like you sunk a lot of points into something that didn't do anything for you. You know, so play what you know. You can always make some changes. It sounds like you're able to change your list up every so often, because you're asking us, you know, for a new list at this point. So play what you're used to, or make some small changes, like we've discussed on previous podcasts. If you're trying to test new things, make some small changes and keep most of your list familiar. That way, you learn the nuances of the new thing you brought into the list.
I'll just reiterate it again. That's a good point Brendan brought up. So just make a small change. So for that Shadow Collective list, if you take out the Mandalorian Super Commandos and swap in Black Suns and put them inside the bus, I think you're going to have a good time. I think that's like a small change that you're going to see benefits, I think, immediately. Because they're going to hop out of that bus and just wreck some face.
Yeah, taking out that Mandalorian squad and putting a Black Sun Enforcer with the Scattergun and a Vigo gets you at 633, so you still have 17 points to play with.
Even more if you pick the Magnet, but yeah.
Yeah.
You might even want to put targeting scopes, maybe, because they get a free aim, right? Independent aim.
They do, yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's not a bad idea.
I would love to know if it's 800-point rules, because I think in that situation, you go with a deep bid and force someone into bombing run, and then you've got all the fast things, all the fast, hard-hitting things.
Yeah, so if you get rid of the Mandalorians, you could get Black Suns with Scattergun, Vigo, targeting scopes. You could switch the AA5 to have a raiding party leader, and then you still have 8 points, and you could put emergency transponders on both your swoop bikes and still be at 650.
Yeah, emergency transponders, real good. I dig that upgrade.
Makes everything a little bit more survivable.
Oh yeah. So I would recommend giving that a shot and see how that does. Cool. Appreciate your email and everyone's email.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
So many emails.
Alrighty, how about we land this ship, my dudes? So, how about you guys like our page on Facebook? Search for The Inglorious Blasters, a Star Wars Legion podcast. Follow us on Instagram at SWL Inglorious Blasters. If you think our judgment is wrong, tell us. Want to ask us a question or give us some general smack talk? Please send us an email at swlingloriousblasters@gmail.com. Follow and subscribe on our YouTube channel, and maybe give us a rating on your favorite podcasting app. It would really help us out.
Additionally, if you're on Discord, you can join our Discord. There's links everywhere. Otherwise, you can just ask us and we'll send you a link. Also, we're on the main Legion Discord, and it's just our name followed by Inglorious Blasters. So if you want to reach out to us, there's many means to do so. Also, maybe not everybody at the same time. That was a lot of reading I had to do. I mean, I'm the only one who can read, but that was a lot of reading. Ooh.
That's right. We're keeping with the lore. John and I can't read.
I'm holding back my laughter, but I was just thinking about like, wow, it's such a great thing that we read through these emails and Brendan reads them, and this is so great. And then I'm just sitting here thinking of all the ridiculous emails I could send to Brendan from like a ghost account.
No.
So that
Don't
he's
give
sitting
everybody
there
any
like,
ideas.
he's sitting there like, this guy was asking some really crazy stuff, and then he reads it on the next cast, and we're just sitting there laughing.
Oh no, I'm the arbiter of what we're getting, and I would just throw a ridiculous thing out.
Just throw it out.
No emails
So
have
what
been
that
thrown
means
out.
is you got to craft your email properly, where it sounds just ridiculous enough, but Brandon's going to read it.
Just ridiculous enough to make the episode.
I love it. Perfect. Alrighty, everyone. Stay glorious. I'm Koray.
I'm John.
I'm Brendan. My eyes are tired.